Hello, my name is LoG and welcome to part 2 of my double picking power-up. If you guys enjoy this type of instructional material, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Let's get on to the lesson. Alright, so let's get started with this second part. Again, where we came from were those two arpeggio shapes that were kind of spelling out the two chords. In that case, it was E minor and then D major. And those shapes look like this: E minor and then D major. And we end right there. And that brings us to this part, the second part. And again, we're kind of spelling out chord progressions very similar to what we did in the previous part, except the chord progression now is C major to B major. That's all we're really doing. And to be real specific, it's like C major with a sharp 4. So that's kind of that sound, right? Very, very common. And then the B major is just B major pentatonic. So let's go over what those notes are. So remember, we're starting here, and the chord is C at this point. That note is C's sharp 4, which is why I was mentioning that that's kind of the chord that we're implying, because we're starting right on that note. So we have the F sharp here, down to the B, the 7 of C, then to the root of C, then to the 3rd of C. That's our first little figure, right? Very, very common if you're ever going for that sharp 4 sound. So after that, we have sharp 4, 7, root, 3rd, and then we're just bouncing back and forth between sharp 4, root, 3rd, root, right? Pretty simple. So I'll play both of those little parts, the first little part, next little part, right? Pretty simple. I'm going to play the whole thing. Again. So those two little parts, first part, next part, you just play them back to back. Really simple. That's all implying that C major sound, kind of with the 7 as well, because we are playing the 7 on the bottom. Next chord is just B major, and it's really simple. It's kind of just descending an arpeggio with the 2. So that would look like this. Starting on the 3, so we have the 3 of B, there's our root. 3 of B, 2nd of B, root, 5th, root, 2nd, 3rd, 5th. That's it. Really, really simple. So I'll play that passage slowly. Then you just walk back up, ending on the 5th up top. So I'm going to play that. Now after this, we're going to slide up 1 fret and play this G, and that will be the final note of this passage. So let me play just the B portion of this. And we end right there. That's going to be the beginning of part 3. So let me do that one more time. Really simple. Let me play both parts. So first part starts on the F sharp. Play a little slower. B. Ending on the G. So let me play both of them back to back. That is what this part is going to be. Do it one more time. Pretty simple, right? Now, there's nothing really else to talk about. I mean, we already know kind of the technique that's being used right here. It's just alternate picking we talked about in the first part. But let's just briefly talk about what the harmony is and kind of how I'm choosing these notes. The harmony is really, really simple. I'm just walking down a chord progression that's in the key of G, essentially, or in the key of E minor, if you want to think about it like that. I'll approach it from the key of G. All I'm doing is really just this: E minor, back from the first part, right? Back from that part, it's just E minor, D, C, and then B major. How many times have you heard that progression? I would imagine a lot, because it's super common. So I look at this as a 6 chord in a key, to a 5 chord in a key, to a 4 chord in the key. And then I look at this chord, that's a 3 chord, but it's major. So instead of just thinking about it as a major 3 chord, I look at that as a 5 of, a setup of the next chord that happens. And that's exactly what it is. So I've done videos about that sort of thing before. So maybe I'll put a link up top. You can check them out. But that's what this B is. That's why it's major. And I'm going with like a plain kind of major pentatonic sound, because I think it sounds pretty cool. But there's a lot of other things you can do over that. But that's how I'm choosing my notes, right? And of course, the main note, the big color note that's happening throughout this whole thing, over the E minor and the D major, it's really just straight up major minor. There's nothing real too interesting going on. But of course, when that C chord happens, the 4 chord, I am targeting that sharp 4. Right? Why is that sharp 4? Because if that's 1, right, our normal scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the normal 4 is here, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we are playing a 4 chord, and 4 chords in a key, in every key, do not have normal 4s. They have sharp 4s. in order for them to live in that key, right? If we're in the key of G right here, which we definitely are, if I were to play C's normal 4, which will be that's F. F does not exist in the key of G. It has to be F sharp, which is why the C chord in this case, as are all 4 chords, they will always have a sharp 4. And I'm really bringing that out by sitting on it right when that chord happens, right? First note of that passage. Every time you hit that ring finger over the C chord, that's that note, the sharp 4 over the major chord. Super common sound, you hear all the time throughout all styles of music. So just keep that in mind. So let me just recap the whole thing. Once again, we're starting on this note, the sharp 4. That looks like this. Next. And then we end on that B. So practice this nice and slow, get it memorized, get it in your hands, and then when you're ready, we'll start playing over these tracks. Again, there's going to be 2 tracks. The first one is just going to be this. And then the next one will be both parts back to back, part 1 and part 2. That will be this. Let me do that without making a mistake. There it is. Thank you. Yeah, so that's what it's going to be. They're both going to run. I think the first one is definitely going to be from 80 to 150, and I think the second one is as well. So if you're ready, let's get on to those tracks. That does it for part 2. Again, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below if you enjoyed this type of instructional material. And also feel free to leave a comment in regards to some other exercises or techniques you would like to see me create a power-up with. Anyway, see you guys in part 3.